Hey everyone, what's up? How's it going? Welcome to the Periscope. And welcome to week 3 of NaNoPlanMo. So this is, on the month of October, I'm making National Novel Planning Month. So I've been giving tips 5 days a week on Periscope, sharing everything that I know about story planning so that you can plan your NaNoWriMo novel before you write it starting November 1st. So this week I'm going to be doing story structure, talking all about the structure points, plot points that you need in your story in order to make it work. And then at the end I have a special announcement of something that's going on for Sunday. But anyhow, for those of you who don't know me, I'm JenniferBlanchard. I'm an author and a story coach. I work with serious emerging novelists who want to save time and cut years off their learning curve so that they can write better stories and get published faster. And so, like I said, I'm doing NaNoPlanMo for October. The first week of the month, I talked about idea, concept, premise, and how to develop a really good one for your story. Last week, I talked about character and explained everything you need to know about your characters before you write them. And now this week, I'm doing story structure. So if you didn't catch the videos last week, you can go here to catch up on them, catch.me/incubites. All of my video replays are there, so you can get the story planning information if you missed it last week. And like I said, this week I'm talking structure. So today I'm going to go through an overview of story structure, just beginning to end, how it works. You can ask whatever questions you want, just put them in the chat box. And then over the next 4 days this week, I'm going to go through each plot point on its own to kind of go deeper on it and explain it a little more and give some examples to help illustrate how it works in a story. So to start off, hello, how are you? So to start off, you have 7 structure points that your story is going to need. Your first one is called the hook. Now, the hook is a moment that happens very early in your story. In a novel, it's usually between the first 20 pages or so. But basically, your hook is a moment. Hi, everyone. Hi, thanks for joining me. Your hook is a moment that basically hints at what's coming. So the beginning of your story is, the setup for what's really coming. So your first plot point, which is the next structure point, and really the most important one in the whole story, it's what's setting up what's coming at the first plot point. So your hook is just a little hint. Then you have your first plot point. Now this happens about 20% into your story, up to 25% into the story. In a novel, that could be about 90 pages or so, maybe about 4 chapters. Really just depends on the story. In a movie, it's about 20% in, so, about 20 to 25 minutes, sometimes 30, depending on how long the movie is. Your first plot point is the biggest moment in your story. So, hi everyone that's just joining. Thanks for joining me. Okay, so your first plot point is the moment that introduces the story to your reader. It's the moment that shows who the antagonist is and what the agenda for the antagonist is. And it does, excuse me, I need to block somebody. So your first plot point is the moment that really starts your story, okay? So it's the moment that introduces the antagonist, it introduces the journey that's coming or the problem that now needs to be resolved by the end of the story. It's that moment that really brings in what's coming in the story, what's happening, and especially it gives meaning. So everything that happens before your first plot point, you weren't really sure what it meant yet, you didn't know what it meant for your character, and once the first plot point happens, you automatically know exactly what it means for them going forward. So now the next milestone that happens is called pinch point number 1. And that is basically just a reminder of the antagonist. So it's just a hint or a flash of, the antagonist. So that we're reminded that there's a bad guy involved, that there's something that's going on in the story. And this is especially necessary because sometimes you have several subplots going on around your core story. And so you may not have a lot of scenes in each part showing us your antagonist until you get closer to the end of the story. And so this moment, your pinch point, really reminds the reader that, hey, there's an antagonist here. There's a bad guy who's trying to stop your protagonist. Just wanted to remind you of that. That's what this moment's all about. And then you have your midpoint. Now this happens 50% of the way into your story. So halfway, it is a transition point. So it shifts the story from one context to another. And especially your midpoint is the moment where we get a full frontal of the antagonist. So we're kind of getting a parting of the curtain. We're seeing, oh, hello, Columbus, Ohio. You're not that far from me. Well, 4 or 5 hours. So the midpoint is really the moment that, transitions your character from reacting to what happened at the first plot point to officially taking action now and being more heroic than they were previously. But it's also that moment that changes the story's context and shifts it in a new direction. And then in between, the midpoint and the next one, you have the pinch point number 2. So there are 2 pinch points in a story. Now you can have more than 2, but you want to have at least 2. And your pinch points happen 50% of the way. So pinch point 1 is 50% between first plot point and midpoint. And pinch point 2 is 50% between midpoint and second plot point. So again, pinch point, the job of it is to just remind us of the antagonist, show us who the bad guy is, and just remind us what's at stake for our protagonist. And then you have your final structure moment, which is your second plot point. This happens about 75% of the way into a story. It can push upwards of 80% depending on, your story length. But the idea here is that the second plot point is the final bit of new information to come into your story. So everything that happens before or after this moment has to be set up, has to be foreshadowed, has to be talked about previously, whatever. It can't be brand new. It has to happen before the second plot point. Now, the other thing about your second plot point, and this isn't true for every story, but a lot of times a good way to recognize the second plot point is that there's this all hope is lost moment, like right before it happens. And so what ends up happening is you think, your character's totally screwed, the bad guy's going to win, they're never going to get out of this alive, whatever. And then suddenly something happens, second plot point, and you are thrust into the next part of the story. And all of a sudden, the character has everything that they need now to overcome the antagonist, to defeat them, and to, rise above the inner demons and to resolve the story. So that is an overview of story structure. And again, this is very generic at this point and kind of just high level. And so I'm going to go deeper on all of these plot points over the next 4 days. So tomorrow I am doing hook and first plot point. And then Wednesday I'm going to do your pinch points, midpoint on Thursday, and Friday I'm going to do your second plot point. So if you want to know more about those, be sure to check out my live videos. And I wanted to just tell you about something really special that I'm doing for Sunday. So for anyone in the United States, you've heard of National Novel Writing Month. Oh, question. Let's see. Beth Allen, can both antagonist and protagonist romance have black moment? I'm not sure what you mean by black moment. Could you clarify that a little bit more? Okay, so Sunday, October 25th, I have officially declared it. All is lost. Okay, so the all hope is lost lull that happens before your second plot point, it doesn't have to have, it just has to basically show us that, like, the protagonist thinks that this is over. Like, they don't think they're going to be able to solve the problem or overcome the antagonist, whatever it is that's going on. And then, of course, something happens at your second plot point to now propel them into the next part of the story and have them now know that they have what it takes to overcome and to be able to defeat the antagonist. You don't have to have, as far as that goes, you just want to have one of those moments. You don't need to have, I mean, you can have as many plot twists and conflicting changes as you want. It's just, these are the 7 specific ones you should have. And you don't even have to have an all hope is lost lull. That's really an option. I mean, a lot of stories have them, most do, but not every story. So that's really something you can kind of play with. But again, so Sunday, I am doing something really cool. I've officially declared it National Story Planning Day. So every year going forward, I'm going to do National Story Planning Day. And so this Sunday, I'm doing 4 Periscopes leading up to helping you plan your story. So basically, I'm going to run it like a live workshop. So it starts at 2 p.m. Eastern. And what's going to happen is I'm going to start with what you need to start off with is idea, concept, premise. So I'm going to talk about that. I'm going to give you an exercise to do in between the Periscopes so that you can kind of start working on your story plan. The second Periscope of the day I will do at 3:30 p.m. and it will be all about your character planning. And then you'll have an exercise to do between that Periscope and the next one at 5 p.m. I think. I have the schedule for you guys in a second, but I'm going to have doing story structure, so you'll have an exercise to do between those Periscopes, and then the last one will be on scene planning, so you'll have everything that you need to plan your story in one day. Now, that's not to say it'll be the perfect plan, but for anyone who hasn't planned their nano novel yet, or who is just kind of interested in giving this a try, it'll be great for you to just check it out and to see how it works. And if you do all of the exercises, you'll be able to walk away with a basic story plan that you can use for nano novel writing. So this is the link right here if you want to go check out the schedule and get all of the information about National Story Planning Day, which is happening on Sunday, bit.ly/storyplanday. And like I said, I'm going to be doing kind of a live workshop over the course of 4 Periscopes and giving you lots of tips about story planning as well as exercises that you can do in between each session so that by the end of the day you have a basic story plan. bit.ly/storyplanday. So I hope that you check that out, and I will be back tomorrow talking all about your hook and your first plot point. So I hope you can join me. Bye.